The recent developments in WWE programming have left fans reeling from some major shifts in ongoing storylines, particularly around the enigmatic figure known as a Masked Man, or as many have taken to calling him, the Masked Man in online discussions and breakdowns. This character first burst onto the scene during the War Games match back in November, where he made a dramatic intervention by delivering a signature curb stomp to aid the Vision in securing their victory. From that moment, the WWE universe was buzzing with speculation, and the presentation heavily leaned into making viewers think it could be Seth Rollins under the mask. The mannerisms, the finisher, the timing, it all pointed in that direction, and it felt deliberate to plant those seeds early. Over the subsequent weeks, the Masked Man continued to play a pivotal role, assisting the Vision in key moments and building intrigue around his identity. Then came the big reveal. It was Austin Theory all along. When Theory unmasked and explained his motivations, it actually landed quite well with the audience. He articulated that he wanted people to recognize his dedication, his in-ring work ethic, and his overall value before ever associating him with his face or his established persona. It was a compelling rationale, one that reframed his involvement as a strategic move rather than a random heel tactic. Theory effectively earned his place within the Vision through this masked phase, proving he could contribute meaningfully without relying on his usual spotlight-grabbing antics. Once that chapter closed, the Masked Man persona seemed dormant, at least temporarily, as the focus shifted elsewhere. Fast forward to the Royal Rumble event in early 2026, and the Masked Man made a shocking return. This time, he targeted Bron Breakker, ambushing him during his entrance and effectively ruining his chances in the match. The attack was brutal and calculated, shifting the narrative toward a pursuit storyline where Breakker and the Vision became obsessed with unmasking this new assailant and holding him accountable. It added layers of mystery and tension, especially since the curb stomp returned as a calling card, reigniting those early Seth Rollins connections in fans' minds. The angle promised a deep dive into identification efforts, confrontations, and perhaps even a high-stakes reveal as WrestleMania season approached. However, real-life circumstances intervened in a major way. Bron Breakker suffered a serious hernia injury, requiring surgery with no immediate timetable for his return. Reports indicate it stemmed from an incident during a recent Raw episode, possibly exacerbated by ongoing issues, and while recovery timelines for such procedures can vary, typically ranging from several weeks to a few months in more complicated cases, WWE has positioned it as indefinite for now. This absence has forced adjustments to the storyline, as Breakker's role in hunting down the Masked Man can no longer drive a narrative in the same hands-on way. His status remains a lingering question mark heading into the heart of WrestleMania build-up, leaving fans wondering how the company will pivot without one of the key players. Despite this setback, WWE shows no signs of shelving the Masked Man angle entirely. Evidence of that came clearly during the February 9th edition of Monday Night Raw. In a heated triple threat match featuring Austin Theory, LA Knight, and Penta, the Masked Man reappeared in the closing moments. He struck with precision, hitting Austin Theory with a curb stomp and costing him the victory. The interference handed LA Knight the win in a step forward in qualification scenarios, but more importantly, it kept the mystery alive and directly impacted Theory, the original masked figure. This moment felt like a deliberate statement from creative, ensuring the character remains relevant even without Breakker's involvement. That Raw appearance delivered a significant blow to several popular fan theories that had gained traction in recent weeks. One of the most discussed involved a potential collaboration or connection between Logan Paul, Austin Theory, and perhaps ties back to Seth Rollins. The idea posited that Paul and Theory could be orchestrating the new attacks from behind the scenes, using the mask as a tool for sabotage while maintaining plausible deniability. It had legs because of their histories, alliances, and the way Rollins has been positioned in relation to the Vision and Paul Heyman. The theory sparked endless debates across social media, podcasts, and forums, with fans piecing together subtle clues like shared mannerisms or off-screen interactions. But the February 9th segment shattered that possibility in dramatic fashion. As the Masked Man attacked Theory, Logan Paul was visibly present and reacted by chasing after the assailant. The three, Theory, Paul, and the Masked Man, were all accounted for in the same physical space simultaneously, eliminating any chance of overlap or collusion between them. It was a clean, definitive debunking that closed the door on what had been one of the more intriguing speculations. Fans who had invested time in mapping out those connections felt the rug pulled out from under them, but it also refocused attention on what remains viable. With those multi-person theories dismantled, the spotlight shifts heavily toward Seth Rollins as a prime suspect for the grand reveal. Rollins has been absent or limited due to his own past issues, but the parallels are striking. The curb stomp as a finisher, the history of animosity toward the Vision and Heyman, and the earlier warning Rollins issued after being ousted from certain circles. He had vowed to target everyone surrounding Paul Heyman, and the masked man's actions aligned perfectly. First derailing Breaker's momentum, now sabotaging Theory's opportunities. If the pattern continues, we could see similar attacks on other Vision members like Logan Paul or Bronson Reed, building toward a climactic unmasking where Rollins stands tall, having orchestrated the chaos from the shadows. Some fans have floated Grayson Waller as an alternative, noting that Waller served as a stand-in or placeholder under the mask during the Royal Rumble attack on Breaker. Waller's previous tag team ties with Theory add intrigue, and perhaps there's lingering tension there that could be explored. However, a Waller reveal lacks the same punch. It wouldn't generate the shock value or mainstream buzz that a Rollins return would. Unmasking Waller might feel like a mid-card swerve rather than a marquee moment capable of carrying significant storyline weight into WrestleMania. Rollins, on the other hand, offers a high-profile comeback, revenge-driven narrative, and the potential for a major WrestleMania matchup against a Vision member, perhaps even escalating to a multi-man scenario if the attacks broaden. The current trajectory points toward predictability, which is both a strength and a risk. If it's indeed Rollins, fans can retroactively connect the dots, his absence allowing the mass attacks to unfold, the targeted hits on Heyman's allies, and the curb stomp as a signature callback. The story could culminate in Rollins revealing himself after systematically dismantling the Vision's confidence, setting up a high-stakes confrontation. Many speculate Elimination Chamber as the ideal timing for such a reveal. WWE often saves big returns and unmasking for premium live events on streaming platforms, and Rollins' comeback would qualify as a massive pop moment. Dragging it out too long risks staleness, with repetitive attacks losing impact if they feel formulaic. Fans are vocal about wanting momentum rather than filler, so the hope is that creative accelerates toward the payoff without unnecessary delays. Looking at the bigger picture, Seth Rollins' past declaration to Paul Heyman that he would go after every individual in Heyman's circle feels prophetic now. The masked man's victim so far fit that exact pattern, and continuing that thread could lead to a satisfying arc. Whether there's a swerve still in store remains a wild card. WWE has surprised before with unexpected twists, and while Rollins seems a logical endpoint, a last-minute curveball could reinvigorate the angle. For now, though, the evidence leans heavily in his favor, making this one of the more anticipated reveals on the road to WrestleMania 42. Shifting gears to another major star, Roman Reigns' schedule for the coming months has been a frequent point of discussion among the fan base. With WrestleMania 42 potentially centering on him in a high-profile matchup, questions about his availability always loom large. WWE has now provided clarity, announcing a robust lineup of appearances throughout March and into early April. Reigns is confirmed for Raw on March 2nd, March 16th, March 23rd, March 30th, and finally April 13th, the go-home show right before WrestleMania. These dates span key cities like Indianapolis, San Antonio, Boston, New York at Madison Square Garden, and Sacramento, giving fans multiple opportunities to see him in person during the build-up. This heavy March slate addresses earlier concerns that Reigns might adopt a more limited, part-time approach, leaving much of the storytelling to his opponent. Instead, it ensures consistent presence, allowing for meaningful segments, promos, confrontations, and developments in his program. The increased visibility bodes well for a strong narrative arc heading into WrestleMania, particularly if it's against a top-tier competitor like CM Punk. Fans can anticipate a packed month of March filled with tension-building moments, title implications, and personal stakes that make the eventual clash feel earned and epic. Adding to the excitement this week was the surprise return of AJ Lee on that same February 9th Raw episode. She made an unexpected appearance, initially framing it as support for Maxine Dupri in her match later that night. However, the segment quickly escalated when she crossed paths with Becky Lynch. Words were exchanged, tensions rose, and Lynch pushed for a definitive singles match to settle their unfinished business once and for all. AJ, ever strategic, refused unless the Women's Intercontinental Championship was on the line. After some back and forth, Lynch relented, agreeing to put the title up at Elimination Chamber. This marks AJ Lee's first singles match in over a decade, a monumental moment for longtime fans who remember her as one of the most charismatic and skilled performers of her era. Rumors have long circulated about her potential involvement at WrestleMania 42, so this Elimination Chamber bout feels like a stepping stone rather than a conclusion. A messy finish, interference, or post-match angle could easily extend the feud, paving the way for a rematch on the grandest stage. The segment also hinted at tag team possibilities, with seeds planted for AJ and Maxine teaming against Becky and perhaps Nat Tai, based on how the interactions concluded amid chaos and interference. Overall, AJ's return injects fresh energy into the women's division during this crucial period. Her presence promises more regular appearances on the road to WrestleMania, adding layers of intrigue, nostalgia, and competitive fire. Whether it evolves into a full WrestleMania program or serves as a catalyst for other matchups, it's a welcome development that enriches the card. These stories, the evolving masked man mystery leaning towards Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns' confirmed active schedule, and AJ Lee's impactful comeback, highlight WWE's efforts to balance predictability with spectacle as WrestleMania 42 nears. The company appears committed to delivering payoffs while navigating real-world injuries and building momentum across multiple fronts. Fans are left speculating on swerves, returns, and matchups, but the pieces are falling into place for what could be a memorable season. What stands out most is how these threads interconnect, feeding into larger narratives around revenge, legacy, and championship glory. As the weeks progress, the anticipation only builds.